Welcome everyone to the first Captains Club of the 2016-2017 school year. This is Kristen Jaden, Special Programs Coordinator at New York State Public High School Athletic Association. We have a really special guest with us today, but before we get to that, just a little reminder of what Captains Club is all about. Captains Club is just a small way for New York State Public High School Athletic Association to reach out to the student athletes across New York, to explore the different roles, responsibilities, and expectations of what it takes to be a team leader. It doesn't matter if you're a captain, a bench player, or anything in between. During Captains Club, we focus on you. So be ready to enhance your leadership skills, because you being a part of this is a step towards you getting better, not only as an athlete, but as a student and a person. So with that, I want to welcome our very special guest, NYSPHSAA Hall of Famer, Missy West. Missy is one of the most accomplished basketball and softball players in New York State history. A graduate of Franklin Academy in Section 10, Missy was named Miss Basketball following the 95-96 season. As a pitcher in softball, Missy threw 15 career no-hitters, including 7 in the 95 season, which ranks third all-time in NYSPHSAA history. Missy attended Duke University on a basketball scholarship and led her team to 5 NCAA appearances, including a trip to the national championship in 1999. She also went on to play professionally in Germany, where she also won a German national championship. Most recently, Missy was inducted into our NYSPHSAA Hall of Fame this past summer. I am grateful and humbled by the fact that Missy is joining us today, as she is a great role model for student athletes everywhere. Missy is going to discuss how to attack a new year. But before I begin, I want you all to know that you have the ability to ask Missy some questions at the end of this. So make sure you tweet us at NYSPHSAA with any questions for Missy, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. And don't forget to follow Missy West at Missy West 25. Now, without further ado, welcome to Missy West. Missy, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Kristen. I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of all of this. You know, Kristen told me this morning that there was over 200 student athletes listening in on this webinar, and that got me so excited, because it means that you, if you're out there sitting there listening to this, it means that you want to get better. You want to be a great leader for your team and possibly even for your life. So I think that's pretty cool, and I'm really excited that you've joined me today. I'm going to kind of jump right into things because I have a lot I want to cover, and I want to make sure we have some time for the questions that you might have that you send through us through Twitter. So I love starting off with this slide. Can you imagine if every day you could look in the mirror and honestly say that I'm awesome? I mean, just think about it. Looking at yourself and feeling good about the person that's looking back at you, feeling good about where you are and where you're going, feeling proud, walking around school with your shoulders back, your head high, you got the strut going on, and you're feeling like a rock star. I know we certainly feel this from time to time, but wouldn't it be great if we could actually capture that feeling every day of our lives? I think we all want to be awesome. We all want to be admired and respected, but many of us just don't know how to make it happen. We don't know how to capture that. The truth is, we either don't have a plan to make this happen, or we don't take the time, or even further, put in the work. Reaching your personal awesomeness takes a plan, and it takes work, but it can be done. If you're sitting there thinking, what the heck is this woman talking about? Don't worry, because when I was in high school or even middle school, I had no idea how to be awesome either. I mean, just like you, I thought I did. I thought I was pretty cool. But as I got older, I realized being awesome isn't just about being cool. Awesomeness, it's not just about fitting in or being the prom king or queen. In fact, it's so much more personal than that. It's accomplishing goals you've set your mind to. It's being knocked down time and time and time again, and getting back up on your feet and keep moving forward. It's stepping out of your comfort zone, taking a chance at something new. And it's being able to be real. Be the person you truly are, and not what everyone wants you to be. Can you imagine at the end of this year, you look back at yourself today, creating goals, taking steps every day to achieve them and reaching your personal awesomeness? That's the plan. I'm hoping that with what I share with you in the next 20 minutes will give you a roadmap, a plan that you can put together to make this your reality. I wish someone taught me these lessons when I was in high school. I could spend the entire year talking about this stuff, but I'm going to try to give you just a taste of how to get yourself headed on the road to daily awesomeness. I'm going to ask you to do some work on your end. I cannot see you, but if you want to make the most out of this presentation, I encourage you to participate. Really think about the things that I'm talking about and engage yourself. This year can be your best year yet. First, before I start getting into the nitty-gritty of the presentation, I think it's really important that we talk about failure. In order for us to reach our fullest potential, we must be willing to simply try. You got to try. We must be willing to take risks. When we take risks, we then must fail. Yes, we're going to fail. You might recognize a guy on this slide. This is Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player to ever play the game. You can read the quote fully yourself, but the basis is that Michael has failed over and over and over and over again, thousands of times. It was due to Michael's willingness to lose that he became a champion, and that is why he succeeded. So this is Michael Jordan. We can all agree, or at least I hope you agree, that he's definitely awesome. And yet the guy has failed time and time again before achieving his well-deserved greatness. How does this happen? I want you to take a moment right now and think, or even better, I want you to write it down. What is something that you failed at that you really, really wanted? How did it make you feel? And lastly, how did you respond to it? I can already guess. When you failed, you were upset, you were disappointed. What did you do next? Did you start blaming everyone else for your loss? Did you blame your teacher? Did you blame your coach? Was it your teammates' fault? If you did, don't be too hard on yourself. Unfortunately, many people react this way to failure. But how draining all of that drama, that anger, that blame is. No one wants to be around a person like that. I was guilty of this myself. In 7th grade, I was moved up to play varsity softball. The coach wanted me to pitch for the team. I was super scared. I mean, super scared. But I did it. I remember getting up on the mound, walking one batter after the other batter after the other batter, inning after inning after inning. We lost because I literally walked the winning run home. This embarrassment didn't just happen once, it happened game after game after game. I didn't like to lose. I was so mad and angry and embarrassed. I was angry that my coach would put me out there when I didn't know what I was doing. I would go home and get in fights with my brother. I'd be storming around the house screaming that I'm done playing softball and powder the rest of the night. And if I had a test the next day, well, I wasn't about to study for it because I was mad at the world. I took my failure out on everyone. I never once thought to look at myself. It wasn't my fault I was terrible. I justified. After all, I was in 7th grade and everyone else was so much older than me. Eventually, I reached a tipping point where I stopped blaming everyone else for my failures and really started looking at myself. And it wasn't until this point that my successes truly started rolling in. I started to hold myself accountable for my failures every day. I asked myself, what can I do now, right now, to prepare myself for the next game? I practiced more after school. I listened to my coaches. I took advice, and I started to get better and grow, both as a person, but also as an athlete. Even if I lost, I didn't see it as a failure anymore. I knew I was growing and getting better. This is all part of evolving into our best self, our own greatness. Trust me, there were a lot of losses. There's a lot of embarrassing times and discomfort before I was able to earn Miss New York State or even become an All-American and get a scholarship to Duke. However, people respected me despite my failures because I kept working hard. I wasn't a poor sport. I didn't blame anyone when we didn't play well. I simply took responsibility for myself. I worked harder than everyone else, and people started to see the potential in the athlete I was and the athlete that I could be. People liked me because I worked hard. I was a good teammate, and I really cared about becoming awesome. So back to Michael. He achieved greatness because he failed. He brushed himself off and continued working hard to be the best until that became his reality. In order for us to uncover how much potential we have, how much talent, everything that's bottled up inside of ourselves, it takes failure to expose us. And failure takes guts. So failure is required for growth. Don't fear it. But let's try to decrease our odds a bit by planning ahead. Think about it. What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Imagine. Write this down. What would you do if you could not fail? I want this to be the basis of everything that I ask you to carry out the rest of this presentation. I today am going to help you develop an action plan. How do we make sure that this year is a successful year for you? What are the steps necessary to help increase the odds of success? I think we first need to define what an action plan actually is. Your action plan is what you want to accomplish by the end of this academic year. So we're talking just this academic year, so come June. And then everything else in between, all the months in between. For example, let's say you're going to visit your friend Sarah. You've never been to her house before, so you type it into your GPS, knowing that it will give you the correct directions of how to get there. Your goal for that moment is to arrive at Sarah's house. But unless you had your GPS that showed you all the turns that you needed to take, you would never arrive at her house. This is exactly what an action plan does. It's your GPS for your life. It gives you a clear destination and a clear plan of how to reach that destination. If I've lost you, no sweat. Everything will come together as we move forward in the presentation. Before I get all crazy and excited, which I already am, but I'm going to highly encourage you to write your action plan down. You should have already written down your failure, how you responded to that failure, and what you would do if you knew you couldn't fail. Forbes did a study on the students that were in the Harvard MBA program. What they found, this is pretty amazing, what they found was that 84% of students, of Harvard students, have never thought of their goals or had any plan for themselves whatsoever. 84%. 13%, they've thought about their goals, but they never actually wrote anything down. And 3% actually created an action plan and wrote it down on paper. What Harvard found was that these students, after 10 years, they found that the 3% who had actually wrote down their goals were earning, on average, 10 times more than the other 97% of the class combined. 10 times more. So Harvard concluded people who didn't write down their goals tended to accept failure more readily and made less money than those that wrote goals down. I ask, who do you want to be? Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and let's put our action plan down on paper. The first thing that we really need to figure out is what matters most to us. What matters most to you? Go ahead. We need to write these things down. What are 3 or 4 areas that you want to have a plan to reach awesomeness. And that is by the end of this academic year. Is it family? Is it academics? Is it athletics? Is it your health? I've listed a few here, but yours may be something completely different. There might be something very personal to you that no one knows about. This shouldn't be about what your parents find most important or your coach. It's what you personally find most important. So once you figure them out, go ahead and prioritize them with the most important listed first. I'm going to throw this one out there, but all of you need to have academic achievement. That should be one of your areas. So there. I just made your life a whole heck of a lot easier. Now you only have to figure out 2 or 3 more things that matter most to you. After we've created this list, we can now create some long-term goals. That is, what do I want to accomplish by June of this year based off from what matters most to me? Your long-term goals are what you envision for yourself, the achievements you want to reach by the end of the year. You really only need 3 to 4 long-term goals, maybe 1 goal for every area that is most important to you. For example, if academics is most important to you, perhaps finishing the year with a 95 grade point average is a good goal for you. We turn to the next slide. Perfect. All right. 95. Academics is your #1 goal, and that's a great long-term goal for you. Perhaps it's passing all your Regents exams. Maybe you want to make National Honor Society by the end of the year. If you chose athletics, maybe you want to be captain of your lacrosse team, or you want to be nominated for an all-state soccer. If it's band, maybe you want to go to NYSPHSAA that year. Maybe you want to be the lead actor in Fiddler on the Roof. Or if family is most important to you, maybe you simply want to have a healthier relationship with your father by the end of this academic year. See, these are all long-term goals. So you're going to write down 1 long-term goal for each subject you choose of what matters most to you. Got it? Okay. Let us move on. If you have questions on that, hit us up on Twitter and we'll get to those at the end. So now that we've figured all of this out, we got to ask ourselves, where am I today in these key areas? Are my actions of today going to help me achieve my long-term goals? Am I aligned with what matters most to me? You might ask, what does alignment actually mean? For example, saying you want to be a straight A student, but never studying for an exam is an action that is not in alignment with the goal of being a straight A student. What you do on a daily basis needs to reflect behavior that will help you achieve your long-term goals. Wanting to make the softball team but not putting in any additional work over the summer to become a better player does not put you in alignment of making the team. See, every day is not going to be perfect or in perfect alignment, meaning you may actually fail at this on occasion. But as long as you get back up, you dust yourself off, you recheck your goals and what's most important to you, then you're moving in the right direction. As I was putting together this presentation, I was running it by a good friend of mine who said, Missy, you don't fail if you fall into the water. You fail if you don't swim your way back up to the top. I thought that was a great quote. So be awesome. And I ask all of you to swim your way back up to the top. So now we've reflected on our current actions. We either are in alignment or we're not. And it's fine right now either way, because we can always change our behaviors to better ourselves for the next day. Now we need to come up with our daily or weekly behaviors that we can do to help us stay on track. These daily or weekly actions are called our short-term goals. Remember the map that I talked to you about at the beginning of this presentation? The short-term goals are the actual directions that show you how to get to Sarah's house, so all the turns you took to get there. Let's say athletics was an area that was most important to you. should be academics over athletics. I'm just throwing that out there. But if it is, and let's say you have a long-term goal of becoming captain of the hockey team. Some examples of short-term goals are I'm going to work out 2 times a week outside of regular practice. I'm going to get one teammate to join me for my workouts. Verbally encourage 3 teammates every practice. Be the first at every practice, and I'm going to be the last one to leave. I'm going to look my coach in the eye when he's speaking and give him the ultimate respect. I'm not going to blame others. And lastly, which I think this is a great short-term goal for all of you to have, write in a journal every night 3 things that you did well during the day and 3 things that you can improve on for tomorrow. And then reread it every morning. These are all specific short-term goals that you can do daily or weekly that will help lead you to become a captain for the hockey team, right? The last item that I want to talk to you about, and perhaps one of the most important in creating this action plan, is to write down your values. What are values? Values are your personal standards of behavior for yourself. It's things like trust, loyalty, honesty, being genuine, compassionate, accountable, having integrity. See, how you achieve success, and I'm going to say this again, how you achieve success is just, if not more important than the success itself. Winning the right way, without lying, cheating, or stealing, or blaming others, is much more important than actually accomplishing that goal you set for yourself. For example, if your long-term goal is to be MVP of the golf team, and you go out on the course and you played a terrible round, don't lie on the scorecard because you know your long-term goal is to be the MVP. Truth of the matter is your coach and teammates probably already knew you lied, and the chances of being selected as MVP were just diminished. Plus, receiving an MVP award after cheating does not make you feel awesome. I promise you. I also want to bring you back to how you responded to that failure you wrote down at the beginning of this presentation. Remember, lashing out, blaming your teacher or your coach, yelling at your parents. When things go wrong, when we're in our darkest moments, this is when our true values come to light. If you want to be seen as honest and responsible and be respected in the midst of your biggest failures, you must act in a manner that replicates this. Get back up, dust yourself off, and keep going after your goals. No one wants to be around a teammate or a friend that is constantly blaming others for their situation. No matter what goals you set for yourself, short or long term, go after them with great values, with sound character, and with class. Be the better person in every situation. Don't fake your way to the top. You have to treat people well and give your best efforts regardless of the final outcome. That feels so much better than that final result. Lastly, to summarize everything that we have covered, don't let fear of failure hold you back from achieving greatness. Write your action plans down so you have it to reflect on and remind you of where you're headed. Write down 3 or 4 things that matter most to you, and then create one long-term goal for each of those things that matter most to you. Create short-term goals based off from your long-term goals. What is it going to take for you daily to achieve that long-term goal? You got to regularly evaluate. You got to ask yourself, am I on the right path? Today, was I aligned? If not, it's not over. It doesn't mean you quit. You regroup, you re-energize, and you restart. And lastly, we want to accomplish all of our goals with integrity and with great values. Just real quick, a couple of tools I encourage you to use. I really highly encourage you to get a journal and write in it every day. And if not every day, because I know we're busy, how about every other day? Keep tabs on your daily actions. Were your actions aligned with your short-term and long-term goals? See, I have a journal of gratitude which I write in every morning and every night. I love it because even during hectic days, it brings me back to how fortunate I am and how much I just need to give thanks for the little things in life. It's like watching the news. My mom can't watch the news because it brings her down. I watch the news because it lifts me up. It makes me realize how grateful I am to be alive and well. This is what I write about. Another great tool is Post-it notes. I know you all have posters all over your room. I'm sure of it. How about you put a few Post-it notes around your room so when you look around, you can be reminded of your goals you have for yourself. Write your values down. If it's trustworthy, stick it up on the wall, someplace where you can see it and be reminded to stay in alignment with those things, with your goals. Everyone should have a planner. If you don't, go out and buy one after this presentation. It's a calendar of some sort where you can write all your events in, your assignments, your goals for the week, maybe the night that you're going to train extra, the date of when you're going to begin studying for your exam. A planner helps you stay in line with your values and with your goals. And lastly, if I can encourage you to read one book going into this year, and this goes for everybody, students, administrators, parents, I encourage you to read The Energy Bus by John Gordon. This book is a short, easy read about a man who appears to have success, but loses sight of what is most important to him. He is miserable, and he's about to lose everything from his job, his marriage, and even his own sanity. During his misery, his car gets a flat tire. With a car stuck in the shop, the man must take the public bus to work. It is during these daily rides that he begins to find himself again through the eyes and advice of simple strangers. I like this book because we all get off track from time to time. The most important thing is to either have things like sticky notes or a journal to remind us of what is most important. Or we need people in our lives. We need friends, parents, teachers, and coaches to remind us of our goals and keep encouraging us. This is truly a great book for everyone on the webinar. I highly recommend everyone reading this. To read it, send me a tweet about it, message me on my blog about it. I would love to hear your comments. It's absolutely one of my favorites. So this wraps up my lesson on how to attack a new year. This is my contact information. I covered a lot in a short amount of time, so I encourage you, please, I beg you, please email me, get in touch with me with any additional questions you may have. Share with me your action plans, no matter how young or how old. I would love to hear from you and help in any way I can. I promise I'll respond to everything that I get. I also am more than willing to come to your schools and speak in person about what I covered today, but also about any other topics I can help you with. This is what I absolutely love to do, and I want to be involved and help in any way I can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can talk about certainly making all of this happen.
Thanks so much, Missy. I think I definitely learned some stuff from you today. I've already done some planning in my planner, so thank you for that. And I know we have some students out there with some questions for you. The first one is, how did you find some time to balance academics and athletics?
Well, one of the big things that I think everyone needs to understand is anybody that's really succeeded at something, yes, you have some natural talent, a lot of people do, but it's really about sacrifice and time management. I sacrificed, when I was in high school, I sacrificed a lot of my social life. So a lot of times when my friends were hanging out or going to the movies or spending their summer by the pool, I honestly didn't do that. I spent most of my weekends in a gym practicing or traveling. I was very fortunate. I was able to travel up and down the East Coast over the summers to be playing. But I really didn't have, I certainly had friends and I took part in some events, but if I had a choice of hanging out with a friend or going to work on my game or work out on the field, that's what I did, because that's what I love to do. And like this, I had a goal of playing in the WNBA or playing professional basketball, or I wanted to win a state championship for my softball high school team. So it was a lot of sacrifice that a lot of my teammates and friends didn't do. I certainly had some friends and teammates that did, but for the most part, it's all about sacrifice. And I knew athletics was important to me. Academics was really important to me. I wasn't this straight A student, so I had to work super hard. Things didn't come naturally to me. I had to spend a lot of extra time with teachers and talking how to take an exam, how to write a paper, all of this. But it's really, you gotta give somewhere, you gotta sacrifice somewhere, and I think that's something that a lot of student athletes don't want to do. They certainly want to be good, but they're not willing to do what it takes to be good. And that was kind of the big difference with me. I wanted to be really good, and I wanted to be the best, and I made sure that I made time for that every single week and every month and every year.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. A little bit of extra effort and commitment goes a long way. Another question is, what do I do if I think I'm doing everything right and making myself better and doing well, but I feel like I'm not being appreciated or noticed?
Well, it's great that I just presented on how to create an action plan, because the truth of the matter is there's probably a lot more that you can be doing. Perhaps you're not putting your time towards the right things, although you think that they're the right things, maybe that they're not. I highly encourage you to do exactly what I asked you to do today. Create an action plan for yourself. What are your goals? And then base your short and long-term goals off of those things, and remind yourself, start a journal, write in it every other day. Did you do the best that you could that day to be noticed or to become better at your sport? You shouldn't have to try to be noticed. You shouldn't work to be noticed. You should work hard for you. You should work hard to make yourself proud. And if you make yourself proud, you're going to make everybody else around you proud. And I think that's something really important, because we get so wrapped up in trying to impress people, trying to stand out, when really if you just give your best effort, you do stand out. You are the one that's going to be admired. People are going to want to be like you, because that's not the norm. So really, if you do this, I promise you it's not the norm. You're gonna beat that next competitor if you do this action plan, because I guarantee you they're not doing it. They're not planning ahead. They're not included in that 3% of that study that I said with Harvard. That makes 10 times as much. You can do 10 times more if you plan, if you practice it daily. But you got to work at it. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. It's not about complaining. It's not about, oh, I'm going to wait until tomorrow. You got to do it now. You got to act on it every day now. But I highly encourage you to certainly start this action plan and do your best at it, and email it to me, and we'll talk over it together, and we can stay in touch throughout the year and make sure towards the end you can look back and be really proud of what you accomplished.
Yeah, Missy, I think you are definitely right there. Anyone listening today, make sure you write down your action plan and send it to Missy. She's more than willing to take a look at it and really stay in contact with you. So make sure you use the information that's on the screen right now and use Missy and go out there, make a plan, and turn it into action. But Missy, thank you so much for being here today and answering these questions for us. For all of you who tuned in, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at NYSPHSAA. You can also follow me directly at Kristen Jaden for updates on special programs. And if you want to share this episode of Captains Club, it'll be posted to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to follow Missy West at Missy West25. Check out her blog at medium.com/@MissyWest25, or contact her at west2525@yahoo.com with any questions or requests to come to your school. I really encourage you guys to use Missy as a resource, and just in this couple weeks that I've been talking with her, she's definitely been an inspiration to me. So Hopefully you all come back and join us for the next Captains Club on Tuesday, October 11th at 3 p.m. If you are interested in being part of Captains Club, I would be more than happy to have you, so contact me. And don't forget, being a leader matters and you matter. Now go attack your new year. See you next month.